Good evening, welcome. This is another episode of Sports Zone on Joy Prime. I'm Fentio, Tahir Fentio. This is our first show inside Ramadan, so all of our Muslim brothers and sisters who are fasting this month, welcome to the show. Now, over the next 90 minutes, the Black Stars top of Group E of AFCON qualifying following a 1-1 draw away in Angola. Before that, they have secured a narrow 1-0 victory in Kumasi. We'll review those two matches, who were the big winners, who were the big losers. But also, Kumasi Asante Kotoko part ways with head coach Sedi Zebo just 7 months after he took charge of the club. This decision was taken on Monday after the club suffered a humiliating 2-0 defeat at home to Mediama. Speaking of Ghana Premier League, Hearts of Oak were crushed in Karela despite their goalkeeper. Let me not say what I want to say. Let's move it on. So there's that to come. Plus, the under-23, they are in action tomorrow. They secured a 1-1 draw on Friday in the last round of qualifiers for the CAF under-23 Africa Cup of Nations. They host Algeria in Kumasi on Tuesday in the return leg. If they can win that, it will qualify them to the CAF under-23 Africa Cup of Nations, which will take place in June in Morocco. And from there, the top 3 teams from that tournament will qualify for the Olympic Games in Paris 2024. So basically, we have our hands full. There have been European qualifiers as well. Richard Comey also received a pummeling at the hands of Jose Ramirez on Saturday night. We have time. We'll get into it. Next Monday, by the time we get here, okay, we would have been getting ready for a world title fight on the 1st of April. So if we have time, we can do some boxing. If not, we'll take it all to next Monday. The show is live and interactive on social media. Let's hear from you. Use the hashtag SportsZone on Twitter. Like I always say, I like to hear from you from that particular medium. The hashtag is SportsZone. We'll retweet your messages and share as many of them as our viewers with our viewers as possible. Also on WhatsApp, if that's your preferred mode, the number is 0551 575757. 0551 575757. It will show up on your screen shortly. 0551 5757. 575757. That's it. It's a really simple number. Okay. So let's hear from you. Your thoughts on the Black Stars performance. You've seen 2 games from the Chris Heating. What are your impressions of him? The show is sponsored, of course, by Hunters. All right. We'll take a very short break. When we come back, I'll introduce my 2 musketeers, and then we can start showing you some highlights and, of course, sharing some perspectives. We're back again on Sports Zone on Joy Prime. I'm Fentio, Tahir Fentio. The show is live and interactive on social media. Let me hear from you. Use the hashtag SportsZone on Twitter. Also send me a WhatsApp message. The number is 0551 575757. 0551 575757. This evening I'm joined by Daniel Cranting and Sichu. As usual, guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Vent.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Bedman. All correct.
I have a God who never fails.
What has happened again?
Sing for me, my brother.
What has happened again?
I have a God who never fails. I have a God who never fails.
What's behind this? What's behind this praise and worship?
Who never fails. Who never fails. Who never fails. Forever.
Oh, Jordan Yami. Jordan Yami.
Anyway, the show is brought to you by Hunters, and Hunters are introducing a brand new flavor. Daniel, tell us all about it.
Let me read it for you, man.
I'm listening.
Introducing Hunters Real Apple Cider. A crisp, refreshing beverage.
Yes.
That is perfect for any occasion.
Yes.
Any occasion.
Any occasion.
Made from hand-picked apples.
That's right.
And crafted with traditional techniques.
Quick.
Traditional techniques. Yes.
Thank you, my brother. Hunter's Real Apple Cider is bursting with natural apple flavors and a hint of sweetness.
Oh, my
Sweetness. A hint.
Natural apple flavors. And a hint of what?
Sweetness.
Look. Unlike
So it's not sweetness.
a hint.
Listen.
Okay.
Unlike other ciders, Hunter's Real Apple Cider is made with 100% pure apple juice.
100%.
Pure
Correct.
apple juice.
Okay.
With no added sugar or artificial flavors.
That's right.
Whether you are looking for a chilled, refreshing drink on a hot, sunny day,
These days it's hot.
or a warming beverage during the colder months,
That's right.
Hunter's Real Apple Cider is perfect.
To cut it short, all weather.
All weather. Enjoy it on its own or pair it with your favorite meal. Me like this kokunte. For more delicious and satisfying experience,
Yes.
experience the true taste of real apple cider.
Okay.
Every sip with Hunter's Real Apple Cider. Hunter's Apple Cider has got real apples.
Real
Another
apples.
quality product. Casafreco.
That's right.
For
That's
bulk
right.
purchase, please contact 026 235 1251.
That's right. Thank you, Daniel.
Fantastic.
All right, let's get into it then. So you heard it. Get yourself a bottle of apple cider. Try it for yourself, and I'm sure you like it. Now, let's get into quite a lot has happened. So we'll take our time and go through them. We'll start with the Ghana Premier League. Okay, over the weekend was match week 23. Okay, the top teams, the Ghana Stars, they had to come from behind to draw 2-0 website.
Yes.
Zambian website, actually, and that's what Daniel is saying, reflects badly on the league.
It does.
A Zambian website reported that in a bid to win a football game, a Ghana Premier League club took a spiritualist,
A witch doctor.
as their goalkeeper.
Yeah.
So, it, like you said, social media,
And-
it can be
and-
misconstrued. You wouldn't even know where it's from.
And it looked like it. I mean, it looked like it was a red doctor in the house of a jest. No, it's out of place. That is how sometimes they portray themselves. So, yeah, that's the kind of image you've just put out there on the back of that decision.
All right, so they lost. They're still 5 points behind the leaders, so it's not so bad. It's bad.
It's bad because you don't see where they are going.
Yeah.
Because you don't see any signs that when Hartford are playing, you're thinking they will come good. The team just can't score goals.
Yeah.
They've not got goals in them. You really look across the team, they've not got anyone who can give them goals. And that is a worrying sign. And to make it worse, they are not defending well.
Yeah, and Kunedi Adam isn't exactly living up to the hype he came with. But let's move it on to Kumasi. Because after a generous draw, Kotoko hosted Mediama, they had a real opportunity to close the gap at the top.
Very clearly on management. But what the management of Kotoko have tried to do in recent times, and they've been successful, it's actually a very key part of management, and they've done well.
Yeah.
Kotoko have got some of the most faithful fans in Ghana.
Yes, they-
And I've been lucky enough to travel around the Ghana Premier League, see how fans of Kotoko love their club. What these managements have been able to do, they've tried to find a common enemy for the club. So the fans and the management have a common enemy, and it puts them together, and it works. In management terms, it is not a bad thing when you've got a common thing to fight.
So in other words, so what it means is that management cannot be seen to be wrong from the position of the fans, right?
Management can't be seen to be wrong from the position of fans, and this is a very hard conversation to have because these fans love the management. These fans have bought into the idea, but this is it. They found a common enemy for the fans.
First half of the season, he wasn't even there.
Yes, like Richmond Lampton. When he came in the second half, you see him in some of this game against Atofik and what have you. Richmond Lampton was playing at a different level. This season hasn't been the same, and that's the point.
That's fair.
You might have players from last season who were playing well, but if they're not playing around the same quality that they were playing with last season, their levels can drop. So we're looking at a Kotoko team whose levels has dropped. And if the management have said they take responsibility over who comes into the club, then the levels is down to the management. And the fact that the Ozebo and Ogum, quite clearly, based on what you've seen, Ogum was a better manager. That then was a wrong call by the management. The big question is who's next?
Okay. They've wielded the axe, Santi Kotoko. Said Ozebo is gone. It's a very... Ishahaku Abdul Fattah one, obviously. And so the match ended 1-1. The return leg will be played...
Playing at this level, you clearly see the quality. You clearly see that he's head and shoulders above his peers. But look, it's about how we use that quality and how we sort of build a system around him to make sure that we get the best out of him and not expose too many of his inability. So look, I think this was a game that was basically rescued because of individual.
And if you don't qualify, that will go a long way to be part of that reason.
True. So they play again tomorrow at the Babaya Sports Stadium. So make sure you go there and watch them, check them out if you're in Kumasi, because they would appreciate your support. We're going to switch our attention now to Black Stars because that's what most of you have been waiting for. Before we do that, I'll just take a few messages already, obviously, because if I don't do that, I won't be able to read as many messages as possible. So let me just take some. This message says, I really enjoy your sports. My greetings to all of you. Keep the fire burning. Prince Abeka inside my Kasim. This message says, good evening, Fen. Allow Daniel to do the Jordan performance analysis in the 2 games. He's always been right about him. That's from Phil Cranton. I think we have been vindicated on Baba Rahman. He's the best we have now. Baba Rahman's fans are now coming out. This one says, oh, Charlie, sweetness day in. Charlie DK, please. Fencho, how far with House of Folks chicken pox?
He's recovering.
From Mutala Tanko. Mutala, thank you. We discussed that. Prince Amosa from Cape Coast says, hey, Amati, that's all. He just said, he said, hey, Amati, that's all he said. This message says, this is from Kumasi. It says, this is Fufosi Cement from Kumasi. That's his name. Fufu money does not buy cement. It says, it's funny how the national team coach once told a wide forward that football is not all about goals and assists. Such a joke to humanity. With Chris Houston's tactical prowess on display thus far, we have to reappoint Otoado and sack him again. Joseph Pencil, Salis, and Osman Bukari did amazing, he says. This one says, good evening, Manche from Abidjan. I'm loving your show, and Chris Houston needs time to build his team. Thank you to all our viewers from Abidjan. Next year, we are coming there. We are coming there. Daniel is coming there. Hide your girls. He's going to the AFCON. Come and collect them all.
Charlie, we are on live TV. His man is doing carrying. Live TV. But you can't see the cameras and the lights. What are you doing?
You can see lights.
That's all.
You can't hear director.
Don't mind that director. Don't mind him. He's talking for himself. Because if he hears it, we will go. Next year, we are storming Abidjan.
So we'll go in this one episode of Sports Zone there.
In Abidjan, yes.
Yeah, so director, everybody will go. Yeah.
Strictly sports.
Strictly sports.
He says, I'm from Peze. I'm right?
Peze.
Peze, okay.
Yeah, Peze,
says, I wouldn't know the reason why Pate didn't play today. I want to know.
That's my hometown, actually. I'm from Ablime.
Oh, that's your hometown.
I'm from Peja Ablime, yeah.
Oh, then that's your brother.
That's my guy.
Yeah, that's your brother.
Oh,
nice one.
Yeah.
This one says, honestly, I like Jordan Ayew, but what I dislike in his play that he's mostly motionless off the ball in the final third. The least said about his free kicks, the better. Gado with that message. That's fair. His free kicks are not great. Let me take just one more, and then we can go into the highlights. It says, good evening. Yakin from Tamale. Me, after watching Ghana matches, both the first leg and the second leg against Angola, I feel like we still need a left back in the team. All right, that's interesting. So then, let's get into the highlights, okay? The Kumasi game, I don't really want to get too much into it, but we got a 1-0 win. It came last minute, of course. Antoine Semenyo came off the bench and scored the winner. It was in front of a packed stadium. But this is where we will talk about. It was a 1-1 draw. Ghana against Angola. Penalty the Angolans got, and then they scored. And, of course, we equalized in the second half. Daniel, takeaways from this game, because there's quite a lot that you can talk about in this game. You were on commentary duty on 99.7 City FM. What stood out for you?
So, look. First of all, I think we need to understand that Chris Hughton knows what he's about.
Yeah.
He's a top guy. Respects to him. Going into this game, remember that Central African Republic had beaten Madagascar.
Yes.
They had joined Ghana and Angola. Ghana on 7 points. So, facing Angola, there was more pressure on Angola than Ghana to win the game. The Angolans knew that they had to get a result from this game to give them a chance going into the last 2 games. So pressure was on them, and pressure being on them, we expected a certain level of, or a certain approach from them.
Yeah.
And that is an offensive approach. It was not going to be similar to the game we saw at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. So we needed to start the game with the right balance. And in starting the game with the right balance, you select a team that can first keep you in the game before you think about anything offensively.
Yeah.
And that is what Ghana did. Look, if you look at the advantage that playing at home has, especially in African football, you will not underestimate that. It is very difficult for even the big boys to go away from home and win. And Luanda is not an easy place to go to. So the Black Stars needed to stay in the game. And I think that is what influenced the starting 11.
Yeah.
Partey missing from that team, and Chris Hughton has explained he had an injury and didn't want to risk it. The only other alternative, in my opinion, was Edmond Addo. And I'll defend that. Because primarily, you do not want to concede.
Yeah.
You are not, there's no pressure on you to win, so you are not taking the game to the Angolans. The Angolans thrive on spaces that you create when you attack, and they can punish you like what we saw, glimpses of what you saw at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. So team selection was very important. People...
So you're saying that double pivot in the sort of Edmond Addo and Saleh was spot on?
It was spot on in terms of what we needed at the time.
Okay.
Now, why I credit the head coach is his ability to read games and understand what we need at certain points in the game. So when we conceded the penalty, and it is very important to note that it's a penalty we considered. We didn't concede a goal out of open play. We were not under pressure out of open play. Yes, they had shots, but they were not threatening clear-cut opportunities where they opened up our defense. So we were comfortable. When we considered that penalty, we needed to react. And I am happy that for the first time in a very long time, a Ghana head coach can turn his back, look on his bench, and he has quality players that he can call upon. We saw it at the Baba Yara when he brought on Semenyo.
I said you were on commentary on 99.7 Joy FM. I said something else.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry.
But why did you correct me?
No. You didn't want to even remind anybody you said it.
It's about psychology. If you repeat it, people will remember. So, look, as I was saying, for a Black Stars head coach to be able to look back and be able to call up on quality is something we've not seen in a very long time. We saw it at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium when he brought on Semenyo, he scored. And then today also, it is not just the personnel he brought, but the in-game changes he made and the players he took off.
Yeah.
Chris Hughton, Mitu Chemao.
Mitu Chemao.
Look, he brought on Iñaki Williams. And he brought on players to complement Iñaki Williams with Joseph
Pencil and Osman Bukari.
And Pencil and then Bukari.
Yeah.
Took off Kudus. Because when Iñaki is playing, you see, he needs to be able to bounce off his runners. Quick, sharp, one-touch passing. That's what he's good at, especially in the build-up phase.
Kudus is not that kind of
Kudus is not that kind of player. And to be fair, Kudus was having a poor game. So you take Kudus out. And then today we saw a different side of Jordan Ayew.
That's right.
In fact, sorry. What is the camera?
Champion number 10.
Closer. Today we saw a different side of Jordan Ayew. You see, people have criticized Jordan Ayew for holding on to the ball for too long.
Yes.
And I kept on repeating. Now, when players like Jordan Ayew are doing certain things over and over and over again, and they are still playing, it is instruction. Today, when Jordan switched to the number 10, pa, one touch, pa, one touch, position, movement, ta, one touch. It is a Jordan Ayew that we've not seen in a very long time. But what I'm saying is, he has it in his game. So if it was something that was natural about him, where he's always holding the ball, he would have done the same thing in the number 10. But his ability to understand the role and understand the requirements of the role, beautiful one touch.
And before you got into that space, you could quite clearly see Chris pull him to his side.
Give him a set of instructions.
And there was a discussion amongst them. And once Jordan got back into the game, his style changed.
I've said this thing pre-World Cup, in fact, before World Cup. When you are naming a national team, okay, there's an importance of having players who are versatile, players who understand different rules, and players who can follow instruction. Because you don't have a lot of time to train your players into different complex tactical systems. So when the situations arise and you need to quickly change something, you need to be able to call on what you don't have to. If your number 9 is not doing well, you have to take him off, because apart from number 9, he can't do anything else. No. So from somebody who started on the right wing, he dropped into the number 10. and did it brilliantly.
Yeah.
Better than the person who started in the number 10.
No, this one I agree with you.
Oh, it's true.
On the
You don't
merits
need
of
to
this
agree with
game,
me, but it's true.
Jordan, I used 15 minutes as a number 10. He did much better than Kudusi 75 minutes or so as a number 10.
And it was different requirements at different times. I'm not saying Jordan is a better number 10 than Kudus, but what we needed at the moment, Jordan was able to provide. And if we can go back to that goal again, and to the reason why I will not sit here, me personally, and criticize players and write them off and say they are not good. No, I always say that depending on the instruction, depending on what the team needs, every player has his use. That goal Ghana scored today was all Iñaki Williams.
Okay, where does this play start from? Where's Benaya? Let's start from where the attack started. Okay, for the Black Stars. Okay, it started with a pass to Iñaki Williams. I think this is a counter attack. Okay, so good. So here we go now. The movement you're looking for is here.
Here. Look at this and watch Iñaki Williams.
Look at the run.
The run Iñaki Williams made out wide. A typical number 10 would have gone down the middle because that is what he's supposed to do. But Iñaki is understanding his teammates. What Iñaki did was a decoy run to first of all draw the center back away from him, and then that one touch. He didn't take 2 touches to draw defenders. That one touch, understanding that Joseph Pinso was already on the move. He had already done the job for Joseph Pinso by drawing the defender away. So all I need to do is to return the pass, and that is it. It is an open space for him. And what Joseph Pinso does with the ball is on him. And brilliantly. You see, every coach needs to understand the profile of players they have and understand the right mix. That's why I say that for the Black Stars, we are lucky. How can I sit here and say this player is bad based on a 15 minutes or when this player came on he did better? If per how we started the game, I can boldly tell you that if Ashimero had started that game defensively, he wouldn't have done as good a job as Edmond Ado did. And Edmond did his job defensively. But again, football fans always like to judge players offensively. So people are looking at his ball progression. It's not something that he has. So he struggled, yes. But he kept Ghana in the game because of his partnership with Salis. And when we needed to go forward, the head coach realized that somebody else will better serve us in that. It's all about teamwork, understanding things, and moving.
And this is why Daniel said, no matter what, tomorrow, rain or shine, winter or summer, Jordan Ayew will always play. He said that last week. And in 2 matches, his teaching has shown that whether it is number 10, number 7, number 11, number 2, goalkeeper, so long as there is a position to be played and Jordan is available,
Jordan will play.
Jordan will play. Take a look at this.
In the national team, if you go back the last year and you look at our goal scorers, only 3 goals out of our last 27 goals have come from wingers. A chunk come through the midfield.
Go down the middle.
Ghana doesn't attack through the wings. If you look at the defensive stats of our wingers, our wingers and our fullbacks, they win the ball more than anybody else on the pitch.
So the instruction is win the ball.
No, it's all part of it.
Yes, no, I know, I know.
So Jordan's role, Jordan's role in the Black Stars,
that's what I must.
Is highly defensive. Maintains balance, and it doesn't mean he can't be offensive. Because if you watch the South Korea game, where we switched, that was the first time in a very long time we saw Ghana offensive. He did the job, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
So the coaches know he has the ability to contribute offensively.
Also saw him,
but on the game plan, they asked him to do a job.
We also saw Jordan against the same South Korea 2 balls. He gave them away.
Not against South Korea. That was against Portugal. We can count everybody's mistakes.
So, but the point I'm making is, so right now you're saying that everybody, when they watch the Black Stars and they watch Jordan, they should forget about watching him trying to score.
No.
They should start watching him recovering the ball.
You see, when you say they are better wingers than Jordan, what are the numbers of the other wingers who come when they play for Ghana? It's equally as poor offensively. That's my point.
Defensively, it's actually better than DS.
Jordan will play.
Jordan should be scoring.
Jordan will play.
He should be scoring.
Thursday is coming. Jordan will play. He can't pass anywhere. Jordan will play. There's nobody better than Jordan will play on Thursday. When Baba comes back, Baba will play. Baba is coming.
The first one has agended.
Baba is coming.
When Baba comes to play. Chicho, Daniel has spoken a lot. Listen, I respect a man with convictions. His conviction is that Jordan Ayew is the ish, and whether people like it or yes,
and when
he's and so far he's been proving right.
Yeah, when he just also said that when Baba comes, Baba will play based on what we've seen of Gideon in the last 2 games, is probably right.
I've not said it too.
Gideon hasn't necessarily held that position well. And it's not as if there was Baba Ramani in company, he had too much to think about. That position was for him to just grab it. And it looked like over the 2 legs, he covered himself in glory. I know there's a reason why he didn't play well, and that is down to tactical and instruction. Because the winger who was playing on his side throughout the 2 games, which was Kamaldeen, wasn't tasked to be tracking back. It was supposed to be an out ball. So Kamaldeen's job was to hack the line and stay high up so that we can transition long balls to him. So that exposed him a little bit. But when he had to do his individual job or win his individual battles, he wasn't great. And it didn't look good on him at times when he had opportunities to also cross the ball into the box. So yeah, I just think maybe he, just as he's been right about Jordan starting, which he started the 2 games, he probably could be right.
Sicho, you have your own conviction. And your own conviction is that you do not think Kudus Mohammed is a great number 10, that he will thrive in that position. And this was even before Ghana played the 2 matches. Before we played on Thursday, before we played on Monday, the coach did not listen to Sicho. The coach deployed Jordan Ayew. The coach deployed Kudus Mohammed in the number 10 position. In 2 matches, Kudus did not have the necessary impact in those 2 games. If you didn't catch the show from last week, here's what Sicho said about Kudus Mohammed.
This is why I don't think Kudus has to be anywhere near in midfield.
Give it to them.
For the Black Stars, nowhere near the middle.
Key pass.
There's an assumption that Kudus is creative, but that is not his game. Because of his skills and ability to dribble, everybody without necessarily looking at his numbers and his game thinks that he is creative. In truth, he isn't. He's very much lethal in and around the box. He's got only 1 key pass in the area, did he say?
Not 1 key pass. Averaging
averaging 1 key pass per game. Those key passes per game has turned out to 2 assists. That again tells you about the quality of chances perhaps he's creating or the quality of finishes around him. But we know he's pretty much got some good finishes around him in Ajax. He's assisted only twice and he scored 11 times. That tells a story. He's very much on the end of the finishing of the move than in the middle or starting the move. So nowhere near in number 8, or if you like, in and around the box as a number 10, I don't fancy. As a second striker, perhaps good. As a false 9 off the wings, yes. But he isn't, for me, a creative footballer. That is why sometimes it's frustrating to watch when he's played in deeper midfield. Now, this is why I don't think Kudus.
Okay, Kudus is not a number 10. Christian still played him in 2 matches as a number 10. The last one, he had to be substituted. Didn't impact the game as much.
Well, thank you, and I wasn't surprised. Like I said again in that video you saw, there's a general wrong profiling of Mohamed Kudus, and everyone thinks that he's a brilliant footballer to watch, delightful to watch. He's got a skill set that perhaps is going to be creative, but that is not him. Yeah. Kudus is not a good passer of the ball. Kudus is not necessarily a good reader of the game as well. But the good news is he's young and he will get a lot better. Now there's something about number 10s. When your game is rapid as Kudus' game is, you cannot be a good number 10. That is why Martin Odegaard of Arsenal is a great number 10, because his game is not rapid. His game is quite slow. So he sees the game better, he reads it better. That is why a player like Isco, when he was in his prime, was magnificent. A player like Mesut Ozil was brilliant, because for them, they see the game a lot better than others do. Yeah. And even if you want to talk about modern day football, in those days, all the playmakers played as number 10s. Yeah. These days, coaches have found the importance of playing deep line playmakers. Yeah. The Thomas Partey's, the Andy Apellos. These are players who read the game a lot better and they pick the right passes. In the game against Angola and Ghana, when Kudus was playing in that number 10 role, he had no impact on the game. When Angola sat deep and Ghana pushed forward, and Partey assumed the 8 and a half row or 10 and a half row, he was carving Angola. He was carving Angola open like hot knife through butter. He was feeding Antien Semenyo. He fed at the point Iñaki Williams when he was on.
Pencil.
He was threading in the passes. He sees those things, not Kudus. Now here's the thing about number 10s. If you're a playmaker in any team, the game is run or played through you.
Yeah.
Kudus is not a player you can play the ball or the game through at the moment. You play the game to him. Mm-hmm. And that is why in Ajax, Kudus is not necessarily even involved in build up to a lot of the goals he scored. They build the ball up to him. But if you want to be a number 10, you think the team. So when you've got the ball, you see spaces and thread the balls through. Your passing is sweet. The weight of it is fine. The decision making into who, because you can have 3 players, all of them making good runs.
Yeah.
But you have to decide who to give it to based on the situation. You need to give it to the finisher. You need to give it to the best crosser. You need to the person who can hold up to the ball. These are things that Kudus doesn't have. Like I said, he's
and that is even based on what stage of play.
Absolutely. And I'm saying that he's been an Ajax for 3 years. They signed him as a central midfielder. He trains with them every morning, every evening. They don't trust him in the middle of the park. So they found a new space for him as a false 9 or as a wide player.
Yeah.
And he has thrived. You know why? Because Kudus is not a player who thinks the game, but he's a player who at the moment plays on massive instincts. So when Kudus strikes the ball one time, it's flying. When Kudus touches the ball in the box on the end of a move, he's scoring. Yeah. And classic examples are the goal he scored against Liverpool. Yeah. That was quick, that was sharp, and he finished it off. Yeah. You know, so he's got great abilities where he can run through bodies, but that is not a job of a number 10, and he isn't a number 10.
Big winners and losers from this international break from the squad. I mean, obviously, I think you agree with Daniel largely that Chris Heating has won big. He's won many hearts. His substitution is spot on. Team selection, everything seems to have worked out for him. Individually, the players.
Those who won and those who lost out.
Yeah.
I think Atizigi has won a lot of credit again in his bank.
Okay.
From post the World Cup and what he has done over the 2 games, there's massive credit to him. Gideon Mensah hasn't won anything. It's a
Why
big
not?
loss. Oh. Yeah, Gideon Mensah. Nothing. Yeah, nothing. I don't think he has. Over the 2 games, he struggled. He really did. And all of a sudden, everybody's
thinking... So who is that alternative?
No, it was always between him. And Pozo wasn't given the opportunity, but it was always going to be between Gideon Mensah and Baba Rahman. Unless we find a left back that we think is above the both of them, then yes. But at the moment, I don't think Gideon Mensah has done enough to show.
What is the main deficiency in his game? Why is he struggling? Basically, that's the question.
So Gideon Mensah is another one of those players whose game is not far from Baba Rahman's. We think Baba Rahman is not a great defender, but Gideon is not a great defender. He looks a lot more assured at times, but he doesn't defend well, especially in scenarios where he's isolated. So when he's got an extra cover, he's great. He can be controlled, he can be spoken to, you can move him around. But when he has the responsibility of doing it by himself, he doesn't thrive. Unfortunately for him, he's not also glittering when he gets onto the other end of the pitch. And that is sometimes you can give credit for Baba, that he can rip the ball a lot better. He can sometimes combine well when he got bodies around him, across from deep. That is not Gideon's game. And then over the 2 games, I thought he struggled again, like I said, because his winger wasn't tracking back in Kamaldeen. Yeah, okay. Kamaldeen as well is one of those players who hasn't really had the opportunity, hasn't really taken it. You know, I think Ashimero played 15 minutes or so, but it's a big win for him, isn't it? Because the rhetoric or the 18 minutes, I think the conversation is that guy perhaps should be playing game. But I agree with Daniel. The way we started, maybe wasn't going to be the answer. What about if we played Ado, Salis and Ashimero? Would that have been a better midfield combination? It probably would, because Ado wouldn't then have been asked to carry the ball forward and progress it. That would have been the job of Ashimero. Ado would have just stayed alongside Salis to protect the back line and maybe then go on and get the job done.
What about those that say that the substitutes that came on had a wonderful game and perhaps they should be trusted more with starting roles? So, i.e. Pencil, or even Osman Bukari. He's coming as a sub to great effect in many games for the Blacks, even at the World Cup, but he's never trusted from the start. We saw the impact he had again when he came on. What is with that? Shouldn't players that perform well when they come on in certain moments like that perhaps be given the opportunity from the start at some point too?
Again, it depends on the demands of the game.
Yeah.
The only guaranteed starters are players who give automatic balance. players who offensively can contribute and defensively can contribute. Those are the guys who, if you look at Thomas Partey, regardless of Ghana's game plan, if we are going to sit back and defend, he has that defensive instinct. If we are going to be offensive, he can also do that also. Jordan and you can also do that. You have the central defensive partnership, of course. They pick themselves. But when it comes to those offensive positions, and I'm not going to situate this on only Ghana. If you look at the best teams out there, teams that have strength in depth, you can never really tell who is going to play. Typical example is Manchester City. You don't know who is going to play. Yeah. Depending on the opposition, Pep Guardiola picks the skill that will suit the opposition. And that is a perfect representation of national team football. So for me, I don't think we should have an ideal starting 11 for the Black Stars, because if we are going down that alley, we also saw Semenyo not do too good today. Iñaki came, his movement created the goal. So are you going to say anytime Iñaki comes on as a sub, he should start, and when he starts and Semenyo comes on, then he should start? No. I think we have a very good squad. That is what has taught us this international window. We have a squad of top class quality. There's good competition. We can call on players anytime we need them.
Here's a curious one, Sicho, briefly. What does this international break tell us about our captain?
Well, it quite clearly tells us that we perhaps are ready to move on without him, and that he might not be as important as he used to be on the pitch. I mean, off the pitch, nothing has really happened for you to say you needed leaders here or what have you. And to be honest, these guys went into the game in the second leg away from home without some very top performers. There's no Jiku, there's no Salisu, there's no Odoi, there's no Partey who didn't play a minute, there's no Captain Andrea. These are 5 players who probably all of them could have started the games if we were there. So you have to also analyze the game in that context, that we're losing some important players. But what these 2 games have taught us is that Chris Hughton trust, as he mentioned in one of his interviews, he wants a team of leaders. He's not looking for one leader. So if the captain is not there, and as he wasn't there due to injury, we still didn't miss, it didn't look like we missed anybody in the game. So quite clearly tells you that maybe then we are ready to move on without the captain. But when he is fit, I think he still has a role to play somewhere.
Okay. I'll take a few messages, but I have a message of my own. Last week on Game Plan on radio, Daniel made a very strong point on the Afenajan situation, and he says that the player is not serious for turning down a national team call-up. I would say that I think the country has failed Asamoah. Well, Afenajan, I'm sorry. I think Ghana has failed Afenajan, mostly because I think, you know, for a young player who was barely 18 years of age, barely played any competitive matches at AS Roma, only 3 of them, when Ghana desperately needed a striker to help them qualify for the World Cup, we weren't looking for this 18-year-old. At the time, I do remember Otuado held meetings with his head coach, Jose Mourinho, who at the point didn't want the player to even show up because he said, per his development agenda for the player, he wasn't ready. But we did everything possible to get this boy to come and play for the national team. And when he came, he did well. He didn't score over the 2 games, but he played well and helped Ghana qualify for the World Cup. After that, he made a move, wasn't playing. Then he played a few qualifying matches. He scored his first goal for the national team, assisted his first assist for the national team. And when the World Cup came, we dumped him because he wasn't playing. He was only 18 years of age. We have seen in the past, countries have taken young players to competitions, not necessarily because they think they will start every match, but because they knew that the experience would be good for them. This experience of the World Cup would have been good for Afenajan. We failed him. We dropped a 19-year-old to take a 29-year-old who only chose to play for the country because they qualified for the World Cup. And I'm not saying there's something wrong with that. But I think the truth of the matter is Ghana had been chasing Inaki Williams for God knows how long, for the better part of almost 10 years. The summer before he decided to play for Ghana, he said he didn't feel Ghanaian. When Ghana qualified for the World Cup, suddenly he felt Ghanaian. So that's the guy we took. And so far, Inaki Williams has played 8 matches for the national team. 0 goals, 0 assists. Afenajan played 7 games for the country as an 18-year-old with 1 goal and 1 assist. I think it's important for Ghana to decide where you want, what role you want to play in the development of your players. I think it has to be conscious, it has to be deliberate. In the case of Afenachan, we haven't shown that we support his development. And I think in that respect, we have failed him. That's how we end Sports Zone tonight. My name is Fentio, Tahir Fentio. Thank you very much, Daniel Cranton. Thank you, Sicho. The show is always fun as usual. Thanks for all of your messages. Until next Monday, bye for now.